about seeing where they want to put it.
And joining us for this game is Juves. Hello, sir.
Yeah, how you going?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm pretty happy with the draft, so I'm looking forward to this game.
Yeah, talk to us about this, and specifically about like Avant here, right? Because not running with Aladoric this week, Shock going into the bottom side, like this is a draft that definitely seems to lean towards individual player tendencies.
Yeah, so probably halfway through the week, maybe even a little bit earlier, we knew AV were doing this with their roster. And like, you know, it's like, oh, they've only changed one player, it's not that drastic. But like,
when they all change
then
roles
it's 3 roles, and it's so
yeah.
like, what's going
Yeah.
on? Obviously, we don't know what's going on, so we can only focus on what we want to do.
Yeah.
So I think this game suits us. Like you've seen us the last couple of weeks, we've opted in for the Jarvan pick, and like we've raid historically in the Ezreal. It's nothing surprising from us. Like it's pretty much what we've played all year.
Yeah.
And that's what I think has been working for us. It is kind of comfort, and when you're on comfort versus a team who's like changing 3 positions, it's probably like, I'd like to say it's in our favour.
Yeah, you want to be in those situations where like the pressure is off and it's just on for your opponents. And was that like the intentional choice? You look at it and it's like AV are already a very like wild cardy team. It's hard to prep, it's hard to prepare for. But like you just want to go back to basics and let's not change anything. It was just like stick to our guns.
Yeah, so I think if you start trying to do too much versus a team who has 3 changes, you can kind of get into this game that's like a coin flip. You just start skirmishing everywhere, and again, we know they're going to play stuff that you're not necessarily practiced against. So if you play what you're comfortable with versus a wild card, the game is somewhat still what you know it to be, if that makes sense, right? Like then if we start picking fancy picks too, and they've got fancy picks, it's just flip a coin, and if it lands on heads, like maybe the better team will win. Like, but in a best of 1, I should say. Right. Specifically for best of 1s. Yeah.
Bit of invade here from Gravitas, and just in general, how are you guys doing? Like, you know, how are the players? What's the mood like? Because, you know, a couple of weeks ago, Gravitas at the bottom of the table, now on a big turnaround, you know, multiple victories in a row, now facing AV, definitely a very winnable game. You know, this is Gravitas on the verge of not only making playoffs, but having good seeding, right?
Yeah, so like it's AV, we obviously got, so we don't have our eyes on like hitting 5th place. That's not our goal. Our goal is like, who can we catch higher up? Like, and AV is a team that we definitely can catch higher up, especially if we win this game. Like, we're only 1 game behind them. And it's kind of like, no disrespect, but it is like a morale boost when someone has 3 roster changes and people are playing off-roll.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, the mood in our camp's very good. Like, I think Jake said on broadcast, we had like a 75% win rate in the last 2 weeks. So we're just trying to knuckle down, and we're trying to keep doing what we've been doing, because, I mean, it looks like it's working. And, yeah, hopefully we win this game, and then we're pretty much like 1 game from whatever it is, playoffs, whatever you want to call it.
And so, yeah, it's not like picking a team we want to catch X.
No,
let's keep doing what has worked and double down on our stuff.
Like, let's get 4th. Worst case scenario, maybe we get 5th.
Yeah.
Like, as a, There you go.
There it is.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what we need to hear from you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
Thanks,
for joining
guys.
us, Juves. We'll catch you next time.
And yeah, just a general eyes on as high up the ladder as they can get on. Kralos had his eyes in the mid lane temporarily, maybe just looking for a counter gank, you know, Hayri pushing that one in. Pabu goes in, Miro's behind.
Oof, yeah, getting dragged in as well by the chains, but mini wave coming in, flashes into the wave, actually goes for the, oof. Yeah, it's like, do you want to go full Lee Syndrome? That was, if he had landed an extra auto strike before that, probably going in. But chooses not to, has double buffs as well, something that you don't really want to give over slash lose this early into the game, but still, good amount of pressure to the top side. And now forces Camille into a last hitting underneath tower situation.
Yeah. And maybe a consequence of not thinking that AV read the play. They went for the invade on bottom side, and the standard response from Miro is like, yeah, okay, I start top side, like I'm just going to go take your red, let's just trade, split the map. So Pabu really going unnecessarily aggressive in the top lane and does get punished for it. And taking a look at the summoner choices, it is the Conqueror from the Aatrox, but curiously, Camille has the Klepto, so a much greedier option in terms of lane damage. Like, he doesn't have a grass to sustain, he doesn't have Precision Tree, Conqueror, or anything like that, press the attack for himself, so going for a greedier route, and does get punished very early, so the lane not quite as easy as maybe he expected here.
Also going to be a nice confidence boost for Draku coming into his first, you know, competitive game in the OPL.
Oh, yeah.
And then getting first gank into the top lane into Camille. Going to feel pretty good. You know, like, what's your opinion on Dracu? Obviously, you've casted him way longer than, you know, I have and anyone else in the broadcast. Like, how would you identify this player?
Yeah, I think big bruiser player, right? So, like, the Aatrox, the Renekton's, like, he is that guy, and not necessarily, like, a huge, like, lane stomper carry play. When you look at AV, it's like, he's not quite as extreme as Chippy's. Has a similar-ish champion pool, can play, like, the Camille's and stuff, but, like, team fights are really where he wants to shine. It's like an Aatrox, yeah, give me a decent laning phase, and I want to flash Q3 on your backline in mid-game, right? It's not so much the flash, the finesse, but really just being like a solid unit in the top side and just doing his job.
Yeah, and sometimes for teams, that's exactly what you want, you know? Like, you don't need an extra playmaker. You don't need...
I don't think AV need an extra playmaker, no.
Actually having someone who is, like, the straight man is actually, like, beneficial to the team more than an extra playmaker.
It's the downfall of every super team. When every lane is like, give me resources, I must carry, and you do have that, like, to simplify, like, the methodology and the thought process behind some players, right? It's difficult to be a player that always gets resources and then not, right? Like, it's very counterintuitive, and you can look at some players, even in professional leagues, and be like, unless they come out of lane with a gold lead, like, they do look a little bit lost. So, yeah, it's super important, especially coming into what is probably an arduous week here for AV. Any stability they can cling on to is certainly going to be useful, so...
It's actually the concept of, like, attaching characteristics to pro players is quite interesting, right? Like, in the context of, like, creating a team, and it's just, like, almost like a TFT setup, right? It's like, this person is a role player slash playmaker.
That's actually really funny. Oh, hold that, okay.
Yeah, just watching junglers go for the flag and drag right here. Prayless gonna get a lot of nice damage here onto Miru, forcing him out of his own jungle. Hayri also coming down, has the inner track towards his own jungler, towards Chippy's. And that will be the play diffusing there, though Prayless has now just entered the enemy jungle and is potentially looking towards bottom side.
Yeah, it was an interesting play. Level 4 Jarvan. Not often you see him EQ into a Lee Sin's face, and the Lee's just like, all right, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. Miru didn't want anything to do with that one. Potentially looking at Chippy's, and he's like, I have a wave pushing into my turret. The Hayri Qiyana will be there very soon, and didn't want to commit to the fight, so ultimately does just back away. These Gravitas are going to start up this objective. I expect it to just continue to be soloed. Qiyana can hold the Corki in mid lane. Bot lane is sitting fine right now. Does open up the top side once again, though. Miru lying in wait.
Basically, if, like, here's the flow chart. It's like, if Pavu hits tower, I go in. If not, I go back, I take blue buff. Pavu did not go towards the tower into Aatrox, which is, to be honest, even in just a 1v1 situation, very rare that a Camille would want to even go into that situation. So Miru just looking for a top jungle was up for him, so not that big of a time loss. Was pretty much in the same area he wants to be anyway. And bottom lane looking for a back hit right here.
Yeah, it is looking like the blue buff is actually just going to be straight up taken by Lee Sin, though, right? Okay, no, pings come through.
Please take... Okay.
Oh, okay.
You're taking too long.
Yeah, genuinely. I think that was a Chippy's just being like, nah, mate, you can just have it. It's fine. He was... doesn't have the mid lane timings there to pick up the blue buff, so an interesting situation. Not one you see very often, but... Yeah, not worth the wait around. That would have been...
Yeah, something you see in solo queue a lot, something you see in competitive not a lot.
Yeah. And it's like those little underrated things, right, that do... Like, speak for, like, the efficiencies of what a competitive game looks like, and... You can play quick League of Legends while still being clean, and when you like do laps and like these little things here and there, it's when the games do get scrappy, something slips your mind. And yeah, blue buff going to the Lee Sin. Miru's probably going to be feeling pretty good about that one.
I mean, a lot of jungling and a lot of pro players like a set of processes, right? And like you know, sometimes you cut out one and it just all goes haywire, but it's a lot of things that you just do by muscle memory, you know?
Yeah.
I think for like some games it's like more pronounced, but like it's definitely true of League of Legends, especially at a competitive level, you know? It's not like a game like StarCraft, for example, so like you just need a high level of APM and a set of rules to even like do the basics of like putting a building down, right? But like for League of Legends, it's a lot of simple things like that. Like I know at this time I'm going to give over blue buff, I'm going to be doing it here. I need to push wave, be able to move over, not lose resources, you know?
Yeah, it's just the juggling act.
Yeah.
And yeah, taking a look at the compositions, right? Because this is a fairly slow early game, definitely compared to what we saw in game number 1, but favoring both teams at different areas. Like AV coming into this one, I'm looking at it like if this game is scrappy, then maybe that's suits them, right? They don't want a standard macro game of League of Legends when they have off rolls, when they have a sub coming through, and it's not the standard stuff. But then they have a fairly decent scaling team comp. Once you get towards late game, you have a pseudo frontline, you have the Lee, the Tarm, the Aatrox, a little bit of disengage there for scary carries like Vel'Koz. If he gets to 3 items, the laser hurts. Corki, you get the rapid fire, the Triforce, the IE, and he just spikes and does so much damage. But when you kind of look at Gravitas on the other side of the coin, right? They do have more proactive tools. They have a Camille that if she gets open up on the map can make mid lane miserable.
Yep.
Qiyana can snowball out of control, but they realistically are probably fine to be in this scenario. Ezreal, he just sits on his tier, wants to farm up for another 10 minutes, hit his 2 items, spike. Hayri gets a couple of items, and then one-shot potential is really the name of the game. So maybe getting towards mid-game, right, if an Infernal Dragon spawns. Ooh. Decoy has no idea.
Oh, and the Q didn't even hit Mirror either. And he jumps out, immediately goes for Dragon's Rage. How did that Lee Sin get there? Decoy backing off to the tower, barely survives the laser. And the rest of Gravitas coming into the bottom lane. This is a 5-man commit right now. AV backing away, Drago's here as well. Throws out the Q, ooh, big damage. And they jump back in with the Lee Sin. 3 versus 4 though, and he don't have any follow-up. Here comes Chippies though, doesn't have the package. Can he get a range for the damage though? Another great Q coming out from Dragu. Picks up one, picks up the second, and that will turn into a 2-for-1.
Yeah, TP's land from the Aatrox and just slaps Gravitas straight back to the base. They got the initial pick, they looked for the play, found themselves with a Lee Sin flank onto the Braum, but not the situation that they wanted to engineer. Very nice punish from AV, and they get themselves a couple of kills, get themselves a couple of plates in the hands of Shock, so early game start. We're going to see how this started. Decoy is thinking about face checking this push like 90 times before he does, and now you're kind of looking at it like, wow, AV have spent so many buttons on a Braum that straight up just didn't die, but you can see a little bit of hesitation coming through. The Jarvan ulti comes down, Qiyana gets a little bit of that burst damage, but Aatrox, multiple Qs onto multiple members, and Chippy's just ever so slowly walking down. Gravitas just don't have the HP pool. That was a clutch slow there from the Vel'Koz lanes onto Raid. He burns the stopwatch and his summoners to try and live, so a little bit disastrous there. They get turned on and AV walk away with the goods.
Yeah, I felt like that Aatrox has got so much work done in that fight as well, you know? And yeah, 2-for-1 in the end. It felt like midway through it was just going to come down to, you know, straight execution versus like who would decide to throw down there, commitment, you know, champions, etc. But yeah, 2-for-1 in the end, and AV currently leading this game just by a fraction. You know? I mean, like, it really is a fraction, a couple hundred gold in it. Looking really towards items now as well. You know, Luden's being completed by the Vel'Koz.
Because it is one of those weird scenarios where you take a look at the fight and it was so clumped. That was like an under-9 soccer game in the second bush of bot lane. And like everybody is inside the Cataclysm and it's like, okay, that's good for Qiyana. That's good for like Camille. She can get in and just hit everyone. Like Ezreal ulti comes over the top, but it's also good for the Corki, also good for the Vel'Koz, also good for the Aatrox. And it was really just the multiple Qs of Aatrox that shone there, so...
Yeah, because I was kind of going to bring up like interactions between like Vel'Koz and this whole team from Gravitas, right? Like Vel'Koz was picked very late into the draft, like knew what he was like in for essentially. Like you have a Jarvan and a Camille to like contend with in terms of divers. It's like, in what situation really are you going to get like a full channel of the ultimate down outside of like engineering a play in the jungle, finding like fog of war plays, right? Like, is that going to happen? And I think bot lane was the perfect example. Like, you know, yes, you know, like Vel'Koz is able to find those opportunities.
Yeah, certainly, and immediately after that one, we're in the replay, but both bottom lanes just straight up walk topside, so it is going to mean that Gravitas get early access to the Mountain Dragon, but Rift Herald is going to be taken. Note, it is fairly late into the game. Normally you see Rift Heralds much earlier, like pre-10 minutes, and then looking to try smash that one into a turret before the 14-minute mark, but this is going to be 13 minutes, and they start. Gravitas!
Well, Dragu just getting caught out in the mid lane, stun put down by Pabu. Find himself a nice kill, basically just in rotation right there. As Gravitas now move towards the Herald, which is still being taken, I believe, here by AV. Yeah, down to 2k, but Miro is able to get the execute damage onto it and take him out.
Yeah, something happening in the jungle as well, though. Chippy's getting dove on by multiple members, because you look at it like 4 versus 5. How did Gravitas not just walk at the Rift Herald and take that one down? AV are able to secure it, and Chippy's may have just bought them enough time. Standing in a bush, it was a flash burnt. You can see off screen the summoner is down and has the Valkyrie as well, so Caught looking for an opportunity and do lose the objective. That could have been a big swing, but AV lock onto something.
Yeah, Gravitas have actually picked up the first Dragons of the game, just kind of like passively in this one. And AV, yeah, I mean, they do have this Herald to place down, but really just looking for an opportunity for it. Plates have already fallen, so hopefully looking for a tower. Probably going to be in the side lane here. Mirror has it, though. And we've gone 4 Australian lanes here, completely swapped up. Hayri going to walk into the top lane, see Gun Crab. Take out this ward. Back into the top side, but the rest of the team is here. Preyler's looking to chase down onto this Tahm Kench. Backing away on this one, and Shocker's getting a lot of damage during this chase onto Gravitas, and they choose not to go for it.
Yeah, in a 4 versus 2 with God Vision, that looks just silly, right? It's like, wow, there's 4 people. You landed the... Like, Jarvan is there, like, he's in melee range, Braum Q lands, but you can see the vision from AV. They set up the Rift Herald beforehand, and they have the remnants of that vision. Triple pink wards topside river, and Gravitas just see nothing, so that was, from a spectator's point of view, a very easy cleanup. A huge mistake there from Gunkrab and the Tahm Kench, but goes unpunished. Mid lane turret breaks as a response without even the use of the Rift Herald, so this could be like a mistake turning into 2 turrets just taken immediately here for AV. That's a huge swing.
You know, and in the situation, it's essentially a 50-50. The setup, yes, is the failure, but, you know, it's just like, if they commit, then it's a win. They don't lose mid, they don't lose top. But now it's going to be 2 towers going down for AV, right?
Yeah.
Off of that.
They still haven't used the Rift Herald as well. That one was just conceded, so it could be the complete outer ring broken very quickly. Miru, it's the small things in League of Legends. Its recall only costs 4 seconds instead of 8, so very quickly goes back. Looking at the bottom side of the map now, and Gravitas have expended a decent amount of resource and time into the Camille, right? They've already seen Drag, who did get picked off in the mid lane. He falls down, and AV didn't get punished heavily. But if this Camille does get ahead, Pabu has been known to take over games. He is a big side lane player, is a big carry threat for this lineup. So a 2-1 start feels good. Wants to get towards the Triforce, then he can look to realistically bully the side lane, and is an avenue for them to look to play through.
For now, though, I am just looking towards his Herald because it's about 1/3 left in its timer, so at some point it will just need to be placed down regardless. Bottom lane, though, looks like we've got a bit of a 2 versus 2 opening up. Draku, ultimate on towards him, but enough for them to back away once again.
And the Tahm Kench is really a big dissuading factor. If you commit to that play, self-healing for Aatrox is there in abundance, right? He can live for a very long time. And even if you take him down, you don't want to lose 3 people from an Abyssal Voyage bringing over multiple threats. So yeah, they look for a pick, don't get a flash, but did force him for the recall. Preyler sticks around, though. Miru doesn't know he's here. But does he want the fight? There's 3 members of AV. They walked over the crab, so he knows where they are. Oh!
Literal last second sees him, but
big grin on his face. He's just like, I got away with that one.
Yeah, Preyler's being pretty good about that. However, knowing that the jungler is gone, easy Herald place.
Yeah.
To be honest, this tower, okay, still gonna get the charge off. Wants to maybe just try and burst it before Shelly just burns a charge there, but either way, we'll probably get a second charge onto this tower here.
Yeah. And super surprising, the past 5 minutes, right? Like 10 minutes of this game, super slow laning phase, but then fight erupts, dragons go down to the hands of Gravitas, but AV turned a Rift Herald and an Error into complete outer ring broken. It's somewhat scary for AV, right? Their composition, like, they do have double side laners in the Corki and the Aatrox, but when you take a look at the champions here for Gravitas, like Camille in an elongated lane, the same can be said for a Qiyana. They do have chase potential, and you haven't really seen a full-out team fight, bar the one that happened earlier in a bot side, and all of the cooldowns were used on the Braum, so we haven't seen a full 5v5 brawl. But also, like in the 1 versus 1, Qiyana has yet to find anyone, right? Like, given the early fight, Chippy's actually came back to the mid lane with a Triforce, so he was just like, all right, what up? Like, you can't hit me. Qiyana didn't get any of the early shenanigans we'd come to expect from that pick, so a lot left kind of untouched this game, and a lot of interactions we haven't seen just yet.
Yeah, speaking of Scrooge McDuck in the mid lane, look at him, 210 farm at 18 minutes. He's just been soaking up waves. This Corki has had a pretty good early game, and he's also been running Klepto, so this is just a rich Corki. Prince goes into the top side, AV back into the mid lane, and yeah, AV with all these outer turrets down, I mean, now looking towards inners, and my question was, are they going to be able to even crack inners? They just walk up and take it.
Yeah, and you can see the mistake was already made. Gravitas 2 members, 3 actually go for the recall. Decoy the only one to commit, and multiple missing pings topside. AV are just like, what are they doing? We know they're up there, but Qiyana sticks around, doesn't even get the turret. a huge moment of hesitation has just lost Gravitas so much time. A mid-turret falls down, and we're approaching the 20-minute mark, right? They've just conceded 4 turrets. Genuinely conceded 4 turrets to fall back on when Baron is spawning very soon, and this does not look like the Gravitas we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks.
No, it does not at all. And, you know, this this is quite scary. It's just like you take outer ring very early and like, oh, well, you know, that's pretty good. But like hitting inners is an entirely different story. It's so much easier to rotate to lanes, to collapse on you, to punish potential pushes here from AV. But just being able to walk up and take a mid lane turret, which is now exposed top lane and bottom lane, potentially like setting up a play for the next 5 minutes, is great.
And you said it, like just. That was like, they were just like, all right, like they just walked up and hit mid and there was no response. It's, yeah, they've been trying to commit these resources to the side lane, but when AV like respect it, when they concede in the side lane, just grant you that little bit of space and you commit multiple members. Remember, that was like the Braum and the Jarvan going up to push in with the Qiyana, and there just wasn't a response there. Normally in these team comps, it's like, okay, you try and push onto Gunkrab on the Tahm Kench. He just ults very quickly to the other side of the map and they get a quicker response because they have Abyssal Voyage, but that was just a straight up wandering, right? Like the members just weren't underneath the turret. AV just wander up mid lane and are like, all right, sick. Give me that one, I'll take it.
AV looking for a fight into mid lane now. They are very big and pretty ready for a fight, especially Corki. I mean, that's what, 9,000, 9,500 gold to create, about 9,000 gold.
He is monstrous. 1 kill, and it's not like Qiyana is behind, right? Like she's behind the curve in terms of when the benchmark becomes the Corki, but 0-0-2, Hayri hasn't had a bad game, but Chippy's been farming up a storm, is 40 CS above the clock almost, and Klepto the Dream right now, he's just a monstrous Corki, almost 10k gold at the Baron spawn mark. This is huge.
I mean, yeah, having Triforce and Infinity Edge at 21 minutes is ridiculous. So he will hit very hard, I can say that one for certain. And now AV pushing into top jungle, and Gravitas having to contest this one as the micro objective is, you know, top lane is slowly being chipped away from as Chippy's just stepping up, hitting it, backing away.
And the other thing here, when you go, like, when you play League of Legends on a spreadsheet, you take a look at Gravitas' comp, and the one AP damage threat they realistically could have is the Ezreal. And Raid has opted in for CDR boost, so maybe this isn't going to be a Luden's build. Like, maybe you could go for that without the Sorcerers, but so much value from Tarbies all over the place. Like, Shock doesn't even have boots yet, right? He's just been sitting with the Tahm Kench the entire game, has felt absolutely no threat on the bottom side of the map, but every other member has a Tarbi.
Ooh, 1v1 underneath the tower. Straight outplay right there, and I don't know how that one kicked off, but Pabu exiting the fight with that much HP must have just been a lot of poking with Q, right, with Precision Protocol, and then just a follow-up for a kill. Yeah,
finds an opportunity, looks for it, and that may be the one saving grace here for Gravitas. The other side of the map is being pushed in very heavily, and as I was mentioning, like, the damage against the armor stacking is going to be rough, but side lane has been the commitment, and maybe a little bit too much, but is making work with it right now. A 3-1 Camille, very scary. We'll take another look. Dragu already at 50% HP, so hasn't been having the best time, and wants to clear the wave. Goes in, he lands. Well, there you go. Hits him with a second true damage and just bops him in the head. I like the reaction as well from Dragu. He was just like, like hands go up. He's like, oh, damn.
I mean, to be fair, like, Camille jumping on you is one of those experiences where it's shocking. Yeah,
he's already made the mistake, right? He's just too low to be underneath the turret, so there's no skill shots to miss. Pabu's just
Have you ever jumped on your seat while playing League of Legends?
Yes, I have in a Wildcards game. Walked back to lane, and a skirmish has been happening on the other side of the map, and walked past my lane opponent.
Yeah.
Like the enemy support, I just like right-clicked to lane, and moved further, like on his side, and he crapped himself. And then, because he was just like, what is going on? There's a jungler here, like you're walking so aggressively, and then I looked back and was almost in turret range, and I crapped myself, and I was like, oh my god, where am I? But yeah, probably the most embarrassing moment.
Yeah, especially
but I didn't die for it, so yeah.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
Because when you start at home, you know, no one needs to see.
Yeah,
but when you're on the stage,
I'm so glad
people.
There was a skirmish happening, and there were like observers looking up at the fight. I'm just wondering.
Player count's probably not on you.
Yeah, 100%. But that is, I knew.
You
and now, you're welcome, guys, because you know.
Yeah, and that was probably from what, like 2016, 15 or something?
Yeah, I think
so
it was like 15, 16, Oh, Miru.
Fralus was catching up Miru in the river up at Baron. They'll take that one for certain. A free jungle will take it 24 minutes when Baron is very much on the menu. Gravitas are going to instantly start this one up. Shock and Chippy as the poke threats are coming up here, but they are seconds away.
And they do
Wow, okay.
back away, yeah. The Abyssal Voyage buys them some time. Dragku does have TP. They've got the free right up to the Baron pit. So a big mistake there from Miru. Of course, Pabu now, you can see the rubble, the remnants of that turret. He actually got a solo kill and 2 turrets off the back end of it, so a pretty big punish. And Miru makes a mistake topside. Drag